Have you ever felt like you're slowly disappearing, even though you're very much alive? No one talks about it, but after 80, that feeling becomes very real. In this video, I'm going to share 5 harsh truths about life after 80 that very few people dare to say out loud. You're still here, still breathing, still remembering everything clearly. But the people around you start forgetting you. Fewer people check in. Fewer people truly listen. You speak, but it's like no one hears you. Here's the shocking part. This doesn't just happen to you. It happens to most people over 80. Quietly, silently, without warning. And one day you look around and realize your world is getting smaller, quieter, and you are fading. But here's what nobody tells you. You're not weaker. You're not useless. You're just living a stage of life that society doesn't understand. But if you understand it, you'll be stronger than ever. So what are those 5 truths? And how can you not only overcome them, but live more meaningfully and peacefully than ever? Stick around until the end. And if something I say speaks to your heart, leave a comment, because maybe your story could help someone else feel less alone. And if you find this video helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on meaningful content for this stage of life. Truth 1. Your social world starts to shrink. One of the first things that changes after 80 is a significant shrinking of your social connections. I'm 82 now, and what shocked me most after turning 80 was the silence that filled a house that once used to be lively. The phone rings less, the door opens less. Calls from my kids now only come for important occasions. Friends? Some have passed away. Others are struggling through life on their own. I used to be the community guy at every party, every wedding, every backyard BBQ. But now, sometimes, I find myself talking to my own reflection, just to hear my voice again. It's strange. No one teaches you how to get used to this emptiness. No one tells you that once you're no longer needed, you start to wonder if you still matter. But then I realized something. I don't need to wait for someone else to connect. I started writing letters again, to old friends, FaceTiming my grandkids, even if I barely understand the tech. And I began inviting my elderly neighbor over for tea on Saturdays. I don't need a crowd. Just a few real connections are enough to warm the whole week. Have you felt your world getting smaller too? Share your story in the comments, because maybe your story could be the lifeline someone else needs. Truth 2. Small problems become big ones. Back when I was younger, twisting my ankle only slowed me down for a few minutes. Now, it can put me in bed for a whole week. I'm not exaggerating. One day, I stepped off my porch to grab the mail. I tripped over a step I've walked over 1,000 times. This time, the tiny stumble led to a knee injury that lasted almost a month. Doctor told me no driving, no going out. Something I once brushed off suddenly made me feel more fragile than ever. I also had a mild cold once. In the past, a couple pills, a good night's sleep, I'd bounce right back. But after 80, everything slows down. A small cold drags on for a week. No appetite, sleepless nights, drained both physically and emotionally. I started noticing I dehydrate quicker, heal slower, and even skipping a meal throws my body off balance. My body no longer silently pushes through. It speaks up and demands attention. I used to get frustrated. It felt like my body was betraying me. Am I really this weak now? But I learned it's not weakness. I just need to change how I care for myself. I learned to rest without guilt. I practiced deep breathing, drank more water, and took quiet time to listen to my body. Not everything is about pushing through. Sometimes pausing is a kind of wisdom. And do you know what helped most? Not medicine, but learning to treat myself gently, just as I once cared for others. How about you? Have you ever had a small problem that reminded you just how much aging has changed things? Share your moment in the comments, because someone out there needs to hear, it's not just you. Truth 3, you start to feel invisible. I never thought I'd be ignored until it happened in my own family. It was my youngest granddaughter's birthday. The room was full of people, full of laughter. I sat in the corner, smiling, listening, trying to join in. I started telling a story from the past, something funny from when her dad was a boy. But right in the middle, someone turned on music. Everyone started talking over me. No one meant to be rude, but no one noticed I was still speaking. I paused, then went silent, and no one realized I had stopped. At first, I thought, maybe I talk too much. But then I realized, it's not that I talk too much, it's that the world now talks too fast. After 80, you start feeling like a shadow in the very places you once led. You have wisdom, life experience, but few ask what you think. You have stories to tell, but no one sits long enough to hear. It hurt at first, but I didn't want to lose my voice just because people weren't listening. So I did this instead. I wrote down memories and mailed them to my grandkids. I signed up to speak at the local senior center, and I reminded myself every day, my voice still matters, even if only one person hears it. And guess what? My granddaughter read one of my letters and cried. She said, "Grandpa, I never knew you'd been through so much." We don't need crowds to feel heard. Just one person who truly listens is enough. Have you ever felt invisible? Or stayed quiet because you thought no one cared what you had to say? Tell us in the comments, because maybe your story will remind someone. Never underestimate the voice of someone who's lived a full life. Truth 4. Daily life quietly shrinks. Have you ever looked around and suddenly realized your life is much smaller than it used to be? Not because you chose it that way, but because the things that used to feel familiar slowly drifted away. I used to start my mornings by driving to a little bakery I loved. The young girl behind the counter greeted me with a smile and my usual strong coffee. Now, the shop is closed. The friend who used to invite me fishing, he's now in a nursing home. The veterans group that met every month disbanded. Even the neighbor I chatted with every evening moved out, couldn't afford the rent. All of it vanished without noise, no warning, no goodbyes. They just disappeared. I didn't notice right away. At first, my calendar just looked emptier. My house just felt quieter. Then one day, I looked out the window and realized the world I once knew was no longer there. The feeling is real. It's not a loud kind of loneliness. It's a quiet, persistent emptiness, like being lost in the very place you once belonged. But here's what I've learned. The old world may shrink, but we can still open up a new one. I may not drive far anymore, but I FaceTime old friends in other states. I don't go to the cafe, but I invite my elderly neighbor over for tea every Sunday. I joined an online calligraphy class and met new friends, even if they're decades younger. it doesn't take much. Just one small reason to get up, go outside, talk to someone. To remember, I'm still here. I'm still connected. And how about you? Have you ever suddenly noticed your life is shrinking? Tell me something you used to have and have since lost. Maybe by sharing, we'll remind each other of all the things that once made life rich and could again. Truth 5. Your body can betray you at any time. Have you ever had your body suddenly change its mind without warning? You wake up feeling strong and alert, but before you even finish breakfast, you're dizzy, unsteady, and back in bed. That used to make me furious. I used to walk 2 miles every morning, no cane, no company. But one ordinary morning, I stood up from my chair and collapsed to the floor. The doctor said, "It's just a mild drop in blood pressure." But to me, it was the moment I lost trust in my own body. The scariest part isn't the pain, it's the unpredictability. I no longer know what my body will do tomorrow. Will my knees ache? Will my vision blur? Will my hands tremble? That's when I felt most vulnerable. Not because I was weak, but because I wasn't sure I could do the little things anymore. But then I realized something important. If my body isn't as reliable as it once was, my mind has to become more adaptable. I started tracking my symptoms each day. When do I feel dizzy? After eating? After not drinking enough water? I began listening to my body like it was a child, not blaming it for not being what it once was. I placed chairs throughout the house, carried water on my walks, split heavy tasks into 2 sessions. I stopped pushing myself. I started planning smarter, not harder. What about you? Has your body ever surprised you in a frustrating way? Share a moment when you felt out of control, so we can learn together how to take back power from the unpredictability. Final thoughts. So now you've heard all 5 truths of life after 80. They're not easy to talk about, but it's harder to pretend they don't exist. I didn't share these things to complain. I shared them so you'll know. You are not alone. If you've ever felt like your world was shrinking, that your voice was fading, or your body no longer listens to you, know this. Somewhere out there, someone is feeling the same. Someone is also learning how to face this stage, adapt, and find meaning in every little moment. Turning 80 isn't the end. It's just a new chapter. And if you dare to face it with open eyes, you can still write some of the most beautiful pages of your life. So which of these 5 truths hit you the hardest? Leave a comment below. Your story might be the one that makes someone else feel understood, or even healed. And if you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love who's over 70. Because the sooner we all understand these truths, the more peacefully, powerfully, and proudly we can grow old. Thank you for listening.